Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Thursday, the 8th of September. So, firstly, looking at today's risk events that are coming out, the key one, of course, is the Euro, or the meeting of the ECB, European Central Bank, there well, we get the first comments come out. I say comments, but the notes come out. The result comes out at 1:15. Fully priced in 0.75 increase. Now it would be interesting to see if this actually happens. If it doesn't, we could see the euro selling off quite strongly. As I say, that's in there. It is priced in there. It doesn't mean to say we won't still see the euro being sold off because it hits the level expected. Often get buy on the rumour, sell on the event. We got the policy statement, of course, for that, and then the press conference at 1:45. And really, I did a video on trading the non-farms. This is similar case here. People get tangled up in this first part of the data, and then it's the second figures that really come through here on the conversation at 1:45, so be wary. Just looking ahead then for tomorrow, into tomorrow as well, we've got the ECB President Lagarde speaking again tomorrow morning. She will of course be speaking at 1:45. Maybe most of what she's going to have to say will be said then, so it'll be tomorrow's won't have such an impact, but I'm always wary in terms of different questions that have been thrown at them. Okay, got some FOMC speakers. I think that's just about it. I'm just looking through here. EC press conference, 3 o'clock. Got another speaker there. And then leading into the evening. So plenty of potential speakers. Right. So let's look through the technicals here then, and technically the euro saw a bit of a bounce yesterday on the dailies here. We've certainly moved it back into range. Now there's obviously divergence across these lows here. It's really a question of, well, are we going to start seeing a bit more of a retracement? From what's said today, is it going to impact the markets enough to see the euro pitching back up? If so, we've got targets up here. The weekly pivot sitting above these prior highs from last week and the week before. Actually, the week before. So we got scope as in terms of targets if it starts shifting up like this. The only concern I have at the moment, one, there's a whole bundle of option expiries for later on this afternoon that sits around parity here, around about the 1 zone. And I think the price may just be sort of stuck to that. Obviously, 2, we've got the data coming out later. I'd rather wait for the data to be released before I try and do anything. And then, well, the divergence that sits here. Did I mention that? Anyway, lots of risk on this, but break down the divergence. Well, we've got daily pivot untouched below, and there is that potential for it to push back. So, options, news, and divergence. Here you go. I knew there was 3 things. Right, moving on then, and looking at the pound dollar. The pound yesterday went on, made another new low, recovered a tad since then. I should actually mention when I'm talking about all these markets in terms of some of this rally that sort of started occurring yesterday. This is we're seeing Chinese. More Chinese lockdown and whatever else, but the significant thing at the moment is with energy prices leading the sort of wave of inflation, with oil prices coming down, it's taken the heat off a little bit. And I sort of mentioned the ECB meeting today. It'll be interesting in their view. They may just take the 0.75% rise now, and it'll be the forward guidance that will be the most significant thing from this. And this is going to affect all these markets. The pound was holding on reasonably well yesterday, or particularly the day before, and then yesterday it just sort of it just gave way in the morning session there right the way through, but a solid bounce back. And with the lower oil prices, obviously it changes the markets a little bit in terms of we could be seeing the inflation slow up in which case it takes away the strength of some of these markets that have, well, the dollar in particular, that's been built on the high interest rate expectations. So there we go. Anyway, so pound wise, the pound is bouncing off, or has bounced off its daily pivot here. It's struggling a little bit. I think a break below that might see us running down towards the S1. The pound is effectively the weakest of the European currencies at the moment, and it does look just soft and waiting to go. However, I've said that, and we'll see post 8 o'clock what happens here. If we start getting a rally, well, it could be pushing on and then running towards its R1, so complete opposite way. We'll just see what happens post 8 o'clock. It's sort of set there that, well, if it does move back to the highs, there'll be divergence when it gets there, so it's a tricky old path, but that's not to say it won't push on through. So a bit of an each way bet as we look at the moment. The Dolly Yen, well, this is a multi-year highs here. It has run into its monthly R2 area. Maybe we'll see more reaction coming from those sort of levels, but more importantly, Japan is not at all happy. The Bank of Japan is really unhappy with the price levels up here, and really wants to take action, methinks. Shorter term time frame, it has put a little lower high in. There we go. Put a little lower high in on this market. Perhaps we'll start seeing a bit of a correction, but I think it's a bit early, and you've got these key moving averages, particularly the 50. Maybe a break of the 50 could be a signal that it's going to come down some more, but I would want to see the euro gaining, the pound, most currencies gaining, and the dollar really being sold. That's the way I'd be wanting to watch out. I wouldn't want to just see the yen moving on its own. Aussie dollar. Well, again, Aussie dollar yesterday, it flirted with the prior lows there. It managed to bounce. It's come off a little bit through the Asian session, but again, managing a bounce here at the moment. And so we just sort of see the reaction of effectively the US dollar side of things just softening a little. Maybe we have got scope to see some of these move up. Maybe we've still got a weekly pivot untouched there, which could be a draw if we do see the likes of the Aussie pushing further. It's, again, he'll have scope for a divergence when it gets back to his highs here, which could slow things up, but it's trying its best at the moment. I've got this sort of minor bullishness kicking in terms of what I can see here from the influence of this price action, but treading carefully. The Canadian dollar, then, we saw the CAD data come out as expected, the increase in the base rate. It didn't make a great move at the time, but it's since moved, and, well, heading south again. This has done that double top area on the 4 hourlies here. A break below the weekly pivot does, to me, make it suggests further downside. Again, though, looking down, okay, it's inverted because it's a dollar CAD. We've got the divergence sitting there, just it's not so pronounced actually. In fact, it looks like it's been worn off on the MACD a little. RSI will certainly show you. There you go. There you go. So divergence sitting across the lows there, but it could just consolidate around here and shove onwards or downwards, as it may be. Right, changing markets. Let's have a quick look at gold. Gold made some really spectacular lows yesterday, he said. It doesn't really show it on here, depending on which markets you were looking at, but it did sell off quite strongly at one stage, but it too, well, actually, it did sell off. Just make sure, look at the right bar here. Actually, I'd seen reports that it had actually come down lower. Depends on, as I say, which market you were looking at, but either way, it's taken a bounce from yesterday afternoon and looking a little bit more like, well, where it's sitting here. Yep, divergence in, but 1, 2, 3, 4 tops there, quad top. Maybe into the new hour we'll see some movement running towards the higher side there, if it can all move and sustain that move. I am wary about the euro data coming out later and the strength of the euro versus the dollar and the dollar effect, etc. So got to be a bit careful. Okay, that's gold. Looking at oil.
So oil is at it's quite significant lows here. It's broken back below some what we saw pre-January, before sort of the Ukraine occurrence, the fighting in Ukraine. So it's sort of gone back pre those levels. Of course, petrol won't come back to pre those levels for a long time, if ever. Anyway, on the notes here, then this, as I say, it is deflationary when we see oil coming off like this, and it can be, although of course the oil companies will make the best of it as long as they can, but in terms of what the knock-on effect, but it's certainly looking soft as it is at the moment. And I mean, I was just looking yesterday, it did break down quite early in the morning there, shifted up, held down, really back there midday yesterday it sold off. Okay, looking, well, again we'll get a divergence if it runs down to these lows here, but looking soft. Right, switch markets, and quick look at crypto markets then. A bit of a bounce yesterday, no surprise with all the other markets. US dollar softening a little bit here, and we'll just see this really running through. It's really whether this sort of sell-off of the dollar can be maintained. At the moment it doesn't really look like it at this stage, but a lot of these markets have got their sort of monthly pivots sitting not too far above, and which can provide opportunities, some targets for those shorter term traders. But for now, solid old days through for many of them yesterday, but one day doesn't make an absolute trend, and we're still in a very much a downward trend on this, so I would tread very carefully. Indices, CSI 300 off a little bit, is probably not helped by China lockdown, etc. Coming through there, and just knocking it weaker. However, elsewhere the Nikkei has gapped up, huge gap up here. It's done an island reversal, the opposite way around, effectively. Quite a bullish sort of sign. I was talked about island reversals up here, and we saw the sort of move down. We're seeing the potential of a maybe a bit more sustained move up there. We've certainly got the monthly pivot kicking above the high. The Nifty 50 this morning gapped up. I mean, it's looking negative here on the bar, but it gapped up quite a long way there from yesterday's close, and well, it's just continuing this consolidation zone. Difficult one in terms of trend there at the moment. S&Ps did a key reversal, as I think most of these US markets did yesterday. So we've got key reversal bars here. Again, if we do see sort of softening, I think we've got to be careful. But if we see a softening of the dollar continue, we'll see this moving up. So softening of the dollar and weakening of oil, if we see the combination, will certainly help things. And there's the Dow Jones key reversal bar. So these can have a decent effect. We'll see what they do at the moment, but there are targets above where these could be heading for. Nasdaq pushing up quite well there. I'll just bring this down. I get a lot more questions on the Nasdaq and the DAX. Pushing up quite well at the moment. It's broken this sort of these near-term trends. Haven't really seen it on this 4-hourly picture, a higher low or anything like that yet. That would make me feel a bit more comfortable with the upper side. At this stage we're still sitting in a solid downward trend. Okay, let's go back to dailies. Quick look at the DAC, the CAC even, and you're seeing the same sort of mirroring pattern right the way across there. So there is potential for them to come up back to their monthly pivots, and the DAX the same. So similar case, I was looking for the break of the trend line yesterday on the downside, but it never happened. It's instead just carried on pushing up. So there's a case of when you're looking at something and you really want to be short, but you're just being patient. Well, the patience paid off there. It just carried on to the upside. Say it pushed through in the afternoon and got a good step up. Anyway, so equity markets looking a little bit more bullish, with a bit more bullish outlook. Cable is just opened. It's up 20 pips already, 20 points rather already. So moving up. bit messy where it sits. There we go. A bit messy where it's sitting there still, and it's not out of its sort of bear mode really, these markets. So it's easy to get carried away a little bit when you see them catching a bit of a rally. Is this it? Is this it? And all of a sudden they get sold again. So tread very, very carefully. Okay, that's it for me today. Have a great day, and I'll catch you tomorrow morning. Bye for now. Right, job